Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be talking about my CD collection, surprisingly enough. Not very surprising, you clicked on this video knowing that it was going to be that. But I'm actually going to be talking about the letter I. And so I am going to be talking about the letter I. In fact, not at the moment, because I realised that I've missed two CDs that actually were under the letter H. All I can say is I'm really sorry. I apologise for doing that. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive us for making this absolutely just ludicrously stupid mistake. It's been a while since I made a video. It's just because I've been keeping myself awake and I just really beat myself down for missing these two CDs. It's taken a lot of courage to make this now. So I hope you can forgive me. Here they are. So the first one is Steve Hackett. So this is a guy who's the keyboardist out of Genesis. And I picked this up because I heard it was supposed to be some excellent symphonic progressive rock. And it totally is. The instrumentation on this is absolutely fantastic. Not that the guy sings, but the guest singers all complement all of the very whimsical music very, very well. And there's some great songs on here. I think my favourite's probably The Hermit. The title track's excellent too. Parts 1 and 2 of Hands of the Priestess, and the title track as well really kicks things off into a very epic sound. So I really recommend this if you're a fan of symphonic rock, and of course if you're a fan of Genesis. And the other one is Holy Other. So this is part of a sort of subgenre of dance music called Witch House. What's Witch House? Well, it's kind of a mixture of gothic music with, I suppose, dance music, very inspired by dream pop and I suppose hip hop, particularly cloud rap. But mostly Witch House tends to be instrumental. This is mostly instrumental. In fact, I think it's all instrumental. And this is really solid, very, as you can imagine, atmospheric. But it's a good mood setter if you want something quite nocturnal sounding. But anyways, let's get into I. So I actually don't have that many under the letter I, so this might be a bit of a shorter one today, but nothing wrong with that. And speaking of I, the first one I'm going to be talking about is actually Kin, an album by I I, Who Am I? Bloody hell, that's a lot of I's, eh? As if you hadn't had a lot of I's already. So, as you can see, this is a very colourful CD here. If I remember rightly, the booklet is one of those ones where you flick through the pages and it slowly turns into an image. So as you can see here, it's black, and that one's black. This one's black actually, that's a bit surprising. Oh bloody hell, and that one's black as well. I actually flicked to the previous page, only joking. Yeah, but then it turns into the singer, I am I, who am I? That should disappears there actually. Where is she? There she is, yeah. So this is an interesting one because she's very popular on YouTube because she titles a lot of her earlier songs with literally just a letter. And because of that, she has millions and millions of views, and I really doubt that people are clicking on the videos just because they're a fan of her music, more of a case of, oh, this is called H or whatever, I'll click on this, and if they like it, I suppose. But yeah, so because of that, I think she did become quite popular on YouTube. But this is really good indie-tronic sort of dance pop, sort of alt pop music. Again, atmospheric, but this is really good as well. She does a lot of music videos, so this CD thing that I've got, it comes with the CD, but also a DVD as well with all of the music videos which accompany the music with this, and I really recommend it. It's been years since I've listened to this. I bought this, I think, just a year or so after it came out, and this came out in 2012. But from what I remember, I really enjoy Idle Talk, Kill, Rascal, and Drops. Some of the ones that are looking at the titles I do remember, and I thought they were really good. So worth a try, definitely. Icecube, obviously legendary rapper, originally part of NWA and now more of an actor than a rapper. But I do have Death Certificate. Maybe I should get a few more by him. But I've loved him ever since I was really young and heard Today Was a Good Day. I thought that was always a really good song when I was a kid. And this is just great hardcore hip-hop from the early 90s. The whole thing flows really well too, and I think it's just a really consistent album. Has a lot of sort of macabre humour to it as well. I think he kind of moves away from the very sort of self-serious tones that his earlier stuff has, and gets a bit more black comedy, you know. So I think this is really good. Can't vouch for his other stuff, but I know he's got another sort of at least 2 or 3 sort of albums which are supposed to be regarded as excellent or classics. So, but at the least I can recommend that a lot. So, you know, I think we should talk about something a bit happier. You know, like I say at the start, I was feeling pretty bad about myself for getting those 2 HCDs. So I decided to perk my spirits up with actually a CD that's in this collection, with a group which I think just by the band's name you can tell that they're pretty quirky, maybe a bit too happy, a bit saccharine, but you know, whatever. They're called I Hate Myself. This is a collection of, I think, an EP and an album on here, this little album here, and it's very depressive, emo, post-hardcore music, and as you can tell by the title, these guys, maybe something to not listen to when you're a bit down, so I made a mistake there, oops, but yeah, this is really good emo music. Now I'm going to talk about something even more happier, black metal. I'm joking. I'm going to be talking about Immortal, and these guys are absolutely brilliant. I love these albums that I'm holding in my hands. I have another album by them on vinyl, a bit more of a later work by them, but Immortal are fantastic. Norwegian, so pretty typical when it comes to expecting where black metal, especially a black metal group from the 90s, are from. And I think these guys I'd probably recommend as your sort of starter if you want to try black metal, because not only is the music itself really good, but you look at obviously the corpse paint and you might do a bit sort of back history into black metal and some of the controversies that they came up with, and it might scare you off, but I think you should check out these guys because they do have a bit humour to them. I mean, the music in itself, it's not like a parody or anything, but if you listen to Abbott, it's what he's called, Abbott or Abbott, the vocalist, he's got a lot of humour to him, and so he's quite light-hearted. But the music itself's really good. The first one I tried by them is known as their magnum opus to many, At the Heart of Winter, which is a lot more progressive than the other stuff. The other stuff is a bit more straightforward with the black metal sounds, but this is very spanning, very token based, and is just excellent overall. And this other one, which I own kind of randomly, Battles in the North, this is more pure black metal, more straightforward, but again I think this is really good as well. A bit underrated as well. I think this is definitely the coldest they've sounded, most rawest, but they've made a load of really good albums, not just the ones that I've held here. A lot of the other stuff I've ended up just trying on streaming services. I might have to get a few more on CD. But Immortal, like I say, if you want to get into black metal, I couldn't see why these wouldn't be a good starting point for getting into them. So this is the Incredible String Band. This is just one album that I actually own on here. My mother is a huge fan of the Incredible String Band. She was a proper hippie, and when they were doing a bit of a raking around of me granddad's house, they found a lot of old CDs and vinyls, and she owns probably about 5 Incredible String Band albums on vinyl, and I ended up just getting her this on Mother's Day actually, because it was one of the ones that she didn't own. So I am slowly getting into them more and more. If you haven't really heard of them, they're from the 60s, like I say, the psychedelic folk and kind of freak folk music as well. Very hippy dippy, but if you like that sort of thing, that's all cool. And I'll be honest, I haven't listened to this one yet, but I think the reason why is mostly because I've mentioned before, when I get into a new band, I like to work my way through usually from the debut and move on from there. So I've been listening to the early stuff more, and slowly I will eventually get to this album, and I probably will just listen to the CD, and maybe if I like it I might buy it on vinyl just to go with the rest of my mum's collection, you know. So all good, cool. Now we're going to talk about a modern classic. I suppose it's not really that modern nowadays, 2002, but whatever, it's a bit more modern than some of the stuff I'm covering here. Debut album by Interpol, Turn on the Bright Lights. So Interpol are a group that I got into through their single Evil. I think for my sister's ex-boyfriend made us a playlist years and years ago, and that was on the CD. So I suppose I don't really want to think that it was a song that got me into this album, obviously, because it doesn't have it on here, but I heard that this is like the main one to go for when listening to Interpol, and I was sure that I heard Obstacle 1 before, and Untitled as well, I heard before as well, which I believe were singles. And this is, I think it goes under the title Post-Punk Revivalism or something, and it's a really, really just fantastic rock album overall. And again, if you've never tried Interpol, they're still going. I don't know, I think I've only just tried this and the second album. Whether or not their latest stuff is any good, I can't really vouch for it. But again, if you like your indie rock sort of punk music, I couldn't see why you wouldn't like this. If you want to try something a bit more modern, if you've kind of just stayed with the 70s and 80s groups, you know. So really recommend them. And now we're going to kind of quickly talk about Iron Maiden. So, I mean, Iron Maiden, I've really had a love and hate relationship with. I mean, years and years ago, I used to obviously see the posters and album covers and maybe tour posters here and there, and I used to get really creeped out by the covers. And I used to, never listening to the music, I used to think, oh, these guys must be really heavy. Basically, when I was really young, to looking at the album covers, and I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I must have thought that these guys were what I eventually would have found, you know, like death metal and black metal. For some reason I looked at them and I thought they must be really heavy. And I remember actually seeing, is it The Final Frontier, Alex? Is that what it's called?
Oh, what do you mean, The Final Frontier,
yeah.
The 2010 one?
Yeah, is that what it's called? Yeah. Right, cheers. I remember seeing in 2010 The Final Frontier, and again thinking that looked really cool, and I thought, you know what, I should try these guys out. And so I remember randomly trying out the song Fear of the Dark, and it starts very acoustically driven, and it's got this epic sort of sound, and I thought, oh, I think I should try these guys out a lot more. And listening to them a lot more, I think Fear of the Dark is a lot different to the sort of other stuff, because even though they do have a lot of moody songs, I think that one just again is quite a bit different, probably because it was made a lot later to the more classic material, which I've got here in my hand. And I remember I first bought Number of the Beast because I thought, oh well, you can't go wrong with any Iron Maiden album. And I remember putting it on and listening to Invaders, and I thought, this isn't what I was thinking they were going to sound like. And I think because of me going into it expecting something and being disappointed, for a long time I never really got into them. For quite a long period of time I just kind of forgot about them. I think it was just overall Bruce Dickinson's vocals. Well, I always thought he had a really good vocal range and such. I just never really got into them at the same time, a bit like the singer out of Judas Priest. I suppose for a bit of a time I was a bit like that with John Anderson, you know, sort of falsetto vocals. For some reason I just didn't like it at the time, but now if anything they're some of my favourite vocals, so that's why I say it's a love and hate, because now I'm getting into Iron Maiden a lot more. So anyways, I've got a couple of albums by them. Like I say, they've released a lot of albums, and so compared to saying I've got all of them, really I only want just a small number. But anyways, so I have Number of the Beast. Like I say, eventually I did get into this a lot more. It's got Invaders, which I obviously love, Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, Obviously the title track, The Number of the Beast, which really won us over, and I thought, oh, these guys are really good. Like, so yeah, this does hold quite a lot to my heart. Somewhere in Time, I own this on vinyl. This is one of my favourite album covers of all time because I love sort of Judge Dreddy sort of looking things. Obviously I love all of the album covers, and I love Eddie. I mean, I have to, that's what I'm called. And this is probably my favourite of the ones that I own as well, funnily enough. I think songs like Wasted Years, Sea of Madness, The Long Distance Runner, Alexander the Great, of course, just rank as some of my favourite songs by Iron Maiden. I've also got, let's have a look, Peace of Mind as well, which I also bought a few years ago, I think, and again owns a lot of really good tracks on here, like The Trooper, Die With Your Boots On, Revelations, Where Eagles Dare, just tracks which really stand out to me as some also excellent songs. And recently I've been trying to get into a lot of this album as well, Power Slave, which I know is regarded as probably one of the best by them, at least in the top 3. And this is starting to become probably my favourite now, if I give it more listens. Probably because just overall consistently I enjoy most of the songs. I think Aces Are High, 2 Minutes to Midnight's really catchy. I love the guitar work on the 3rd track, Lost for Words, as well. I just think all of the tracks are great, and funnily enough, I listened to the last track on here when I used to study English in college, because one of the books I studied, I suppose it's more of a poem, this is Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and for some reason my lecturer put on that full song for us to listen to, so that song holds quite a bit to us too. So yeah, Iron Maiden, you know, eventually more and more albums should appear in my collection, but we'll see, you know. And so actually the last CD I'm going to be talking about today is by a group called Isis. So these guys are what is known as an atmospheric sludge metal group, and the album that I have here is called In the Absence of Truth. And to give you the truth as well, I actually haven't listened to the CD yet, so if any of you are Isis fans, yes, that's an old joke, I'm sure, let us know, see what you think, because I picked this up randomly because I got it quite cheap, but I know that there's a few other albums that they've done. I think Panopticon and Oceanic, I think it's pronounced, are supposed to be absolutely excellent. So I might be starting in the incorrect order here, should be listening to maybe them. But even so, I'm hoping that I'll enjoy this, because the only other atmospheric sludge metal groups I can think of that I've really tried is Neurosis. I'm quite a big fan of. So see if it's anything like that, I suppose. But yeah, so that's it actually for this edition of ABBA to ZAPPA. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hope you're taking care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you very soon for part J. Bye for now. Sorted.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.